Whether you're a baby boomer winding down your career or just starting in the workforce, being able to retire is something most of us look forward to. And like most things in life, it's good to have a plan. Richmond CPA Phil Umansky is back with us today with a countdown to retirement. Good morning, Phil.
Good to be here, Cheryl.
I know you just recently retired, in the last year or so.
Yes.
Did you have a plan going forward?
You sort of have a plan in the back of your mind, but I knew about 5 years from when I retired that I really needed to get ready for retirement. So I focused on, saving a little bit more money, putting more money in the 403B, sort of deciding when I was going to collect Social Security, sort of in the back of my mind. But I think, psychologically, we're talking about the psyche. Sometimes you get to the point where you say, I've worked, I've accomplished all my professional goals, I'm really satisfied with what I've done, and now I sort of want to move on to the next stage of my life. And you sort of think about that about 5 years before retirement.
So that's where our countdown is going to start, 5 years out. So what should we be thinking about when we're 5 years out from retirement?
Okay, so if you got kids, try to get them through college and into a career. Try to get the mortgage paid off as much as possible. Put as much money in your savings. You even have some catch-up contributions that you can do with your IRA, et cetera. And then begin thinking and planning about what you're going to do in the next stage of your life.
And I guess, too, you have to start making plans if you're going to retire early. Things like health care until you get to 65 and Medicare and other things if you want to take an early retirement.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of uncertainty now with that, with the health care bill and things of that nature. So that you've got to sort of try to resolve those uncertainties to the extent that you can. It's not always possible.
All right. We're going to roll forward 3 years. Our next benchmark is 2 years out, according to you.
Yeah. Well, the 2 years is actually 2 years after you retire.
Oh, okay.
So you've got that day. You retire. They throw a big party for you, and then you begin to think about, all right, this is the honeymoon stage. It's almost like being married. Oh, we're married. Now we can begin to enjoy ourselves. So that's the 2 years, and you can go on trips, you can take up a new hobby, you can try to get in shape, lift some weights, play that golf, and you're sort of enjoying yourself. It's the newness. And then at some point, of course, like a honeymoon, the newness wears off and you sort of got to get back into the swing of life.
And you might want to decide at that point that retirement maybe wasn't what you were thinking it was going to be and you want to still work.
Yeah, you could do that. And it could be at a different job, and it could be also part-time work as well.
So these are the things that, and in this case, you probably need, maybe, if you're lucky, less money to live on.
Yeah, well, there's some expenses that you're not going to have. You're not going to have commuting costs, and you're probably not going to have as much dry cleaning as possible. But you may have other expenses in other areas, such as vacation and travel. And, hobbies can cost money.
So those are the things we wanted to be thinking about 5 years out, was what we wanted our retirement to be.
Yeah. Now the next stage is very interesting. It's sort of disenchantment, and that is this all there is? It's a little bit of a letdown. It happens in marriages. You got to get into a routine. You got to get to know the person. And so the disenchantment is when you're beginning to think about, well, what's going to be my new identity? What am I going to do for the next 25 or 30 years, because people are living longer? And then the next stage is normalcy. That's when you're in a stable pattern, you have a stable budget, and you're beginning to search out a new identity. And that new identity can take place in terms of new hobbies, maybe even a part-time job, helping out in the community, etc.
So that period, with any luck, is going to last a few decades.
Hopefully it will last a few decades. You're still going to travel, but you really realize that you've got to have a normal life and a new identity. So I call that also aspect reorientation.
Reorientation. Okay, we have to get ready for that. And then you have stage 5. You call it the beginning of the decline to decline.
Yes, and so that is the stage where you're beginning to feel some aches and pains. You're not really getting out as much as you would like. And you're beginning to see that you're a little bit past your peak, and there can be dementia involved. There can be other things such as mobility issues, and this is really the stage where your healthcare costs can really begin to skyrocket. You can also lose your spouse, which is a new beginning in a sense. So, and a lot of people also at this stage begin to downsize because of mobility issues.
And those are the kinds, and all of these stages are things that we have to plan for.
You do have to plan for that. And one of the plans that you can do is make sure that your children are involved in your finances, because there may reach a stage where, you know, you're just not able to keep up with the finances due to health issues.
So even now, before we get to that stage of decline, is the time that we should be looking at things like setting a will, putting together a trust if we want to do that, power of attorney, looking at our medical plans, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And the reason I bring up these stages is because if you can anticipate these stages, and they will occur to all of us, different time frames, etc. The more that you can, if you can anticipate something, I think the more you can plan and control it to some extent.
And some of us aren't going to have all 5 of these stages. We're going to skip some of them. You know, it all depends on your life. It's all individual.
It is all individually, but this would be like a good best case scenario. I mean, some people, unfortunately, you know, that they retire and then they really lose their vigor, and they can go down here very quickly and pass away. That's an unfortunate reality that we all have to face.
And if you are part of a couple, you need to plan together.
You do need to plan together, and you also need to develop new skills as well, because a lot of time one person in the marriage is taking care of the finances. So what happens if that person does pass away? Then you're going to have to be prepared to do that as well.
And you also have to think, if there's an age difference and the retirement comes at a different point, there could be some issues there as well.
Absolutely. And who knows, if you do miss a spouse, or that spouse passes away, you might want to get a new spouse, and that brings up other financial contingencies as well. Some of them very pleasant, because you can have somebody else's income to live on as well.
I like the way you look at that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for helping us with our plan, looking at 5 years out from retirement, but always looking ahead to retirement. Thank you.
And you're too young to retire, so stay in the
Bless
job.
you.